Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to my YouTube channel. This is Nikhil Parekh. In this video, I shall be giving you a recitation of my poem that is the title, How About Immortal Love? This poem of mine has been published in my book that is the title, Love vs. Terrorism, Volume 2. Therefore, without wasting a further instant, ardently wanted to commence upon the recitation of my poem, How About Immortal Love? For those of you who thought that there was no greater light on this universe than the ferociously flaming light of the blisteringly flamboyant afternoon sun, for those of you who thought that there was no greater power on this universe than the power of unfathomable treasuries of majestically glittering gold and silver. For those of you who thought that there was no greater color on this universe than the astoundingly vivacious color of the vividly shimmering rainbow. For those of you who thought that there was no greater force on this universe than the tumultuously incomprehensible force of the brazenly intrepid tornado. How about immortal love? Whose omnipotent aura miraculously healed the wounds of all despicably shivering alike, whose essence of celestial equality made even the greatest of gods in the cosmos saluted for times immemorial, whose essence of celestial empathy made even the greatest of gods in the cosmos, gods in the cosmos saluted for times immemorial. For those of you who thought there was no greater height than the unsurpassably unconquerable height of the mountain, handsomely kissing the clouds. For those of you who thought that there was no greater compassion than the overwhelmingly poignant compassion of caring only for your near and dear, only for your near and dear. For those of you who thought that there was no greater heat on this universe than the insurmountably overpowering heat fulminating in your persona to ecstatically march towards the corridors of untamed triumph. For those of you who thought that there was no greater beauty on this universe than the ravishingly silken beauty of your nubile maiden who danced to every tune of your heart. How about immortal love? How about immortal love, whose omnipresent fortress of mankind embraced all those miserably orphaned in its poignant belly, whose fragrance of invincible truth whose fragrance of invincible truth made even the greatest of gods in the cosmos humbly bow to it for countless more births yet to come, yet to come. For those of you For those of you who thought that there was no greater comfort on this universe than the unprecedented winds of comfort in the seductively tantalizing lap of your Mercedes. For those of you who thought that there was no greater voice on this universe than the melodiously enchanting voice of the everlasting nightingale. For those of you who thought that there was no greater rejuvenation on this universe than the rejuvenation imparted by the voluptuously undulating and frosty beach waves. For those of you who thought that there was no greater softness on this universe than the impeccable tufts of soft cotton sprouting with puristic harmony in the fathomlessly sprawling fields. How about immortal love? How about immortal love? Whose impregnable blanket of perpetual solidarity united the entire living race into the most formidable power alive. Whose essence of timelessly uninhibited sharing made even the greatest of gods in the cosmos worship it for boundless more centuries yet to come. For those of you who thought that there was no greater freedom on this universe than wandering with free equanimity at the crack of ethereal dawn and even after the advancing sinister midnight rhapsodically alike. For those of you who thought that there was no greater religion on this universe than the irrefutably sacred religion which you intrinsically belonged to, the religion which you uttered from your very first cry, the religion which you uttered from your very first cry. For those of you who thought that there was no greater smell on this universe than the supremely stupendous and vibrantly ingratiating smell of the scarlet rose. For those of you who thought that there was no greater knowledge. For those of you who thought that there was no greater knowledge on this universe than the astronomically endless knowledge assimilated in unbelievable proportions within the dormitories of your tiny brain, within the dormitories of your tiny brain. How about immortal love? How about immortal love? Whose omniscient form, whose omniscient form brought a charismatic festoon of magical smiles to even the most disastrously deadly of cops, whose essence of divinely yearning and righteousness made even the greatest of gods in the cosmos, made even the greatest of gods in the cosmos, gods in the cosmos, gods in the cosmos crown it as the most unconquerable blessing to lead vibrant life, as the most unconquerable blessing to lead vibrant life, as the most unconquerable blessing to lead vibrant life. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for hearing me from the innermost layer of the heart. Wanted to thank you for the euphorically vibrant patronization to the poetry.